Apiary is a free biannual print publication. We have a free print circulation of 30,000. And when you open it up, you will see writing by Philadelphians of all ages and in all genres. And you'll also see artwork. So visual artwork is really important to the magazine.
Apiary is a place where, you have beehives. And we were thinking about, this idea that we were all worker bees. And we were all, creating this delicious honey. We're not, mostly interested in where you got your school degree or, how connected you are or, what your biography might be. We're just interested in your ability to tell a great story. The connection of one human to another human, the story of human dignity, of human emotion,
It's funny, I don't actually remember the first poem that I read, but when I was in elementary school, I remember being up late at night. One night, everyone in my house was asleep, and hearing a train whistle outside of the window, and feeling this really kind of sad and lonely, but also sort of like excited feeling of thinking about something really far away from me in that way. And I remember being like, how do you say that? How do you say this complicated feeling? And trying to write a poem about it.
I first came to poetry in the 11th grade. I remember we were going over Emily Dickinson for 2 days straight, and it was the first time that we really dove inside of a poem. And I realized that, hey, this is something it's big. It's something that can be unraveled. You can use words as kind of these tools to create something more than what they say. And so, at University of Penn, I held a young writers contest, and I wrote a poem for them. About Philadelphia, and then ended up winning. And it was the first time that I was introduced to University of Penn, which later became the school that I went to.
I first came to poetry when I was very young. My father was a poet, and my father read poetry to me all the time. And I got to see my father's poetry alongside all of these other magnificent poets. And there was something magical about the way that people over long periods of time could still emote, and that was what became interesting to me, the ability to do that, to be a person anywhere in any time period, of any background, and be able to reach someone, maybe 100 years later, maybe 200 years later. There's a type of poetry for a person who just wants to listen in. There's a type of poetry for a person who wants something, extraordinary complex. There's poetry for a person who's looking for something academic. There are so many types of poetry. So my advice would be, find the type of poetry that suits you. Every type won't, but find the type that does. And when you do, it will become part of your existence.
There's a long history of poetry being spoken out loud. And, like bards going all the way back, and then, more recently, beat poets or with the Black Arts Movement. And spoken word came out of the Black Arts Movement. And also from hip hop, and also just from open mic nights that had hip hop artists and that had poets. They were kind of performing the same kind of places. The Philadelphia Youth Poetry Movement, also known as PYPM, had a major impact on a lot of the high schools here in Philadelphia. I'm actually coaching a high school slam team this year, and they've been recognized nationally and internationally for several years. So on that level, it's huge and continues to be huge. Last year we hosted kind of the national spoken word event for youth.
People from outside of Philadelphia, when you go somewhere for a conference or you go, it's oh, Philadelphia is such an amazing poetry city.
They love our poetry scene because it is so inclusive instantly. You need only show up at an open mic and people, will show you where you need to go to get any poetry that you would like.
Ultimately, our purpose is to inspire and connect Philadelphians through their own words, to show people across the city commonalities that they may not have known existed between their fellow citizens. And as soon as you say written by humans, it's just the reminder that no matter, you know, what degree you have or what kind of experience, that is who we all are walking around the city, and that's where the writing is coming from.